Jazz music has this kind of unique mystique among musicians. To classical musicians and rock guitarists alike, it can seem like this complex, otherworldly art form that breaks all the rules you've learned so far about music. I'm Dean DeMarzo from Paul F. Music, and I want to demystify some of the stuff around jazz. So this is a new series I'm calling, Hey Dean, What's Jazz?
Hey Dean, what's jazz?
Jazz can mean a lot of different things to different people because there are just so many subgenres. The first thing that comes to mind when I say jazz is probably the big band swing of the 30s or the bebop of the 40s, but jazz is so much more than that. There's Latin jazz like the bossa nova and the samba. And the jazz fusion of the 80s. And there's all kinds of crazy new subgenres coming out literally every day. So what are the key points? What makes jazz jazz? First up, complex harmony. Harmony is the way that all the notes combine to create chords, and the way those chords combine to create chord progressions. Most of the pop and rock songs you know are probably just a few chords, and all those chords usually belong to the same key. Think of the key as a family of chords that all sound good together. Jazz composers use extended chords, which are chords that have extra notes thrown on top for extra flavor, and they borrow chords from other keys to give themselves a wider tonal palette to work from. Let's check out an example at the piano. Next, improvisation. For the most part, classical music is fixed. It's written down by the composer, and it's played back by the performer exactly as it was written. Sure, the performer has some leeway in terms of tempo and phrasing, but the notes on the page are what comes out of their instrument. In jazz music, along with other genres like blues and rock, there's a lot of improvisation involved, coming up with something completely new in the moment. Every performance is completely different because you've improvised the content. Playing a jazz song usually goes something like this. The band starts out by playing the melody of the song, the song you know. This is called the head. Then when they get to the end of the melody, they'll play the chords through again, but this time they'll play a completely new melody that they make up on the spot. Each band member will go through this process. First there will be a trumpet solo, then maybe a piano solo, you may even get a bass solo or even a drum solo. The improviser has to keep track of what chords the band is playing at any given moment to make sure what they're playing fits in with the music. This is one of the hardest parts of performing jazz music, because the chords and key can change lightning fast, and if you don't keep up, your solo gets really messy really fast. Musical communication. In any genre of music, it's really important that the musicians on stage are listening to each other, but jazz music takes that to a whole other level. Because everybody on stage is improvising, even when you're not taking a solo, you may be improvising your part a little bit. These players feed off each other, and the whole song evolves over the course of the performance. Something you play on the trumpet can influence the piano player or drummer to change up their style a little bit, and the whole song can take on a new direction mid-performance. That's part of what makes jazz performances so unique. They're different every time, and literally anything can happen. Musical iteration. Playing cover songs is an incredibly common thing in the jazz world. There's even a few hundred songs that every single jazz musician is expected to know, called standards. Jazz musicians know these songs so well that two musicians can meet for the first time on stage and say, hey, let's do Autumn Leaves in G, and play that song perfectly with no rehearsal whatsoever, and the audience will never know. A huge portion of early jazz songs were just jazz arrangements of popular songs of the day, from theater and pop music. This is still happening today with bands like the Bad Plus doing jazz versions of classic rock songs. This culture of rearranging and remaking music means that the jazz music that's already in existence is constantly evolving, and it's also constantly taking in new information from other genres. This is what keeps jazz music alive and interesting generation after generation. So how do you get started with jazz music, whether you're interested in playing it or just listening to it? Either way, there's a few great albums you should start listening to. Miles Davis is always a good place to start, namely Kind of Blue, which is one of the best-selling albums of all time. Dave Brubeck's Take 5 is another incredible record. Some of my personal favorites are Chick Corea's Light as a Feather, the George Benson Cookbook, which is one of my favorite jazz guitar albums. Another great guitar album is Oz Noy's Ha. I know I'm being biased towards guitar here, but that's my main instrument, I can't help it. Other jazz legends to check out are Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie, John Coltrane. These are all the essential immortal heroes of jazz, and just about anything you check out from them is a great representation of what jazz music is. On a more recent note, Snarky Puppy's We Like It Here is a great modern jazz kind of big band record. So start there, listen to those. When you find a tune you like, try to learn it on your instrument. If you can, try to learn it by ear. Transcribing by ear is such an essential process for jazz musicians. It's the way you're going to learn your favorite solos, because chances are there hasn't been sheet music released for every single record you find that you want to learn. It also gives you a deeper understanding of the music and your instrument. There are also a lot of great books to check out. Jamie Aebersold's Play Along series is essential jazz reading, especially Volume 1, How to Improvise. There's also the Real Book, which contains all those standards I mentioned earlier. Jazz is an enormous art form that you could spend a lifetime studying. So jump in and find something you like. You may not be into every style of jazz, so find one that speaks to you and start playing. Thanks for watching. I'm Dean DeMarzo, and this has been Hey Dean, What's Jazz? On Paul Effman Music. If you like this video, please subscribe for more videos like this one, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below and I'll get back to you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.